Christensen is with ShelterBox, and she provides vital supplies for those refugees in many of these countries. She joins us now from Moldova with more on this. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I just want to start with the big picture, though, because how do you wrap your head around 10 million people being forced from their homes, many in need of shelter, and clearly you can't help everyone. So how do you deal with a crisis like this? How do you prioritise who gets what and when?
It's very challenging. ShelterBox is an international disaster relief organization, and we focus primarily on emergency shelter and vital supplies. We work all over the world in conflict zones and rapid onset disasters. And so we do have experience dealing with crises like this, with the Syrian war, in Yemen, but it is incredibly challenging. And so we are working with our partners and using our expertise to try to target the people that might not receive aid in other ways and just do as much as we possibly can.
So let's talk about Moldova for a moment, because there's been a lot of focus on Poland, which has taken the majority of the 4 million Ukrainians who fled because of the war. But the situation in Moldova is one of which is a country which is under strain because it just doesn't have the resources to deal with so many people. So what's the situation there?
So most of the people coming here, there's 387,000 now, and they're primarily coming from Odessa in Ukraine. Some are driving themselves over the border, most are arriving on buses, and some are coming on foot. The vast majority are here in Chisinau, in the capital, where there are 75 collective centers, and the government is actually doing an incredible job with their limited resources in partnership with humanitarian organizations, giving everybody in those collective centers what they need, but that's only 10% of the refugee population. The majority of people are renting apartments or staying with host families, and they're outside of that coordination system. And so that's where ShelterBox is focusing our efforts.
So ShelterBox has now started operations here in Lviv in Western Ukraine. So for those who are receiving assistance from you, what are they telling you about their lives, what they've lost, and what they need now?
So we have 3 projects going on. One is in Lviv, providing collective centers with mattresses for people to sleep on. We're also planning a project more on the front lines of conflict for people to be provided shelter kits, which are tarps, tools, and building materials to make buildings habitable again, as well as solar lights, blankets, water purification. And for those people, obviously, the situation is incredibly desperate, still living on the front lines of conflict. Here in Moldova, the people that we're talking to, it's almost all women and children. I met a woman yesterday. She has 4 small children. She left her husband and her 80-year-old mother behind, fled with just the clothes they could carry. We got here, and obviously an incredibly stressful journey. And then you're in a new country. You don't know what's next. You don't know when you'll be able to go home. Even though things are very well coordinated at the moment, there's still a lot of uncertainty for these people. They no longer have their income coming in. They don't know whether they're here long enough to get a job. So I think the more comfort we can provide to people in their onward journeys, that's what we're here to do, make things as easy as possible for them.
And sadly, it doesn't seem that this war will end anytime soon. So that means there will be more people who are forced to leave their homes, especially in the eastern part of Ukraine. How prepared are you to continue this help as more people seek safety? And I guess, how long will they have this welcome in other countries too?
I'm not sure about how long they'll have the welcome in other countries, but ShelterBox is prepared to do everything we can for as long as needed. All of our efforts are funded by public donations, and if people care to donate to our efforts, it's shelterbox.org. And if we have the funds, we'll be here as long as we can be.
Stephanie, thank you, and thank you for what you're doing. It's very much appreciated. It's good work, and you're obviously caring for so many people right now. So thank you for you and your organization.
Thank you so much for having me.